Okay, so we know that we don't actually have any materiality or anything attributed to this inside of our Revit working environment. They're just unselectable objects. So we want to use a tool that allows us to export those from Dynamo and into Revit, kind of in a dynamic sense, in a dynamic way. So we're going to go to Dynamo, and we're going to look under the tools that are listed specifically for Revit. And under Elements, I believe it is, we have a function called Direct Shape. I click on that, and we scroll down a little bit. We have this idea of direct shape by geometry, and that it creates a direct shape in Revit, but we have to answer a few questions. We can send the geometry through, but we have to give it a category and a material. So we'll select this, and see where it showed up on our screen. And we're going to feed our whatever it is into that, whatever it is, meaning any shape or object that we want to pull out into Revit. So once again, just to keep some clarity here, I'll disconnect our watch box and move it out of the way. We're not going to deal with our cuboid because it doesn't give us what we want, so I'll go ahead and just delete that also. I'm right-clicking to remove it. And let's just feed our cylinder geometry in right away. And that usually should just turn yellow. Let's see what happened if we go back out to Revit now. There's nothing there. And I'm surprised that that's not giving us an error. It should be, because we have not answered any other commands by it. It just maybe doesn't turn yellow as it should. Anyway, so we need to actually give it a category and a material. We do not have to give it a name. So there's a term category, and we can just search that. Categories. And this is a drop down that gives us all of the Revit. Let me just zoom in here so it's a little clearer for you. This gives us all of the Revit available geometries, or naming that we can call them as far as categories. And I'm just going to go down and find the generic model. And we can drag that into category. Now it'll probably turn yellow because it's still missing a material name. So we have to do a couple of things. First of all, I'll look for material by name, which is material and then by name. So we put a name in and we get a material out, and right now there's no name in, and we can literally use any type of name we want. So we need to use what's called a string. A string is usually an alphanumeric entry that has no number value to it. It's a word. And we'll type glass in to start with, because glass is something that's always inside of Revit available to us. So I'm going to plug that name into material by name and plug this into material. And that should make it happy enough that it will turn back to its gray. And if we click back out, now we can actually find an object that we can select inside of Revit that's listed as a generic model. So we've accomplished the first part of that goal. We've got a lot of busyness going on now, so I want to get rid of some of those other objects that we no longer want to see. And I'm going to do that by just turning off the preview. So I'm going to turn off the coordinate systems. The curve links are not appearing as anything. The point coordinates are appearing. They're not too distracting. I could leave those in place. The NURBS curve is fine, but the points along the NURBS curve is really kind of annoying. So let me just turn that off, and all those points should disappear along there. And we could leave the points on for the line. And none of these are actually, these are just ghosted in. They're not actually been communicated to be anything. And the cylinders that are inside of Dynamo, we really don't want those to show up inside of Revit. So I'm going to turn the preview off for those. And now if we go out to Revit, we have all of these ceiling pieces defined as an object, and we can go ahead and render them. So we'll go to realistic, I haven't saved the project yet, which I should have. So give me a second to do that. Sorry, I want to save it right in my working area here. And now let's go ahead and give it some realistic rendering so we can get rid of all of this busyness of line. So we'll go to realistic, and I'll turn the graphic display options on. We'll get rid of the edges, we'll smooth it, we'll add some shadow, and we'll start to create a scene. I'll add some sky to it. All right, and these are all glass right now. We're probably going to want to change that. And this doubling of the look here is probably because we've got transparency and we're seeing the next object behind it. So we'll say OK to that. And let's go ahead and build some walls around it. So I'm going to go to the top view. Sorry, this is glass and it's rendered. I'm not going to change that right now. Well, I actually should. Let's go back to wireframe so we can see these. I'm going to build some glass walls around these just to start to set up a visualization of it. So I'll go to wall architectural, and I'll use a curtain wall. We can use exterior glazing, and we're going to go from level 1 up to level 2, and we'll just draw. And you'll notice that these are saying that they're 21. So we've got, let me just move this one out a little bit. Just a little breathing room around our ceiling panels. And I'm just drawing this really quickly to give you a sense of this thing sitting in a space. And let's go to level 1. We're not seeing the panels anymore, but I'm going to go ahead and set up our view. Go to view, grab a camera, and maybe just shoot at the front of this thing. And there we go. We have now our ceiling cylinders coming down, and once again I'll just go ahead and realistically render this. Okay, so you can imagine this is kind of the Apple Store cube with some kind of a special ceiling panel system going in it. And you can do all kinds of things to start to define the space up. One of the first things is maybe I'll just get rid of the front panel on this. Oh, it doesn't matter. Let's put a floor panel in it. That's going to really help make this look better. So let's go to floor. I don't really care too much what it looks like, and we can use the pick walls. That's on level 1, and we jump back to that view. Now we get a floor plane in there. Starts to define it up. So anyway, that's what I'd like to do before we get to even the idea of putting this together as a presentation. I'd like to manipulate these back to see how we could deal with this as rectangles, and we'll do that in the next clip.